grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. God morning, God afternoon, and God evening to all. My name is Justin B. I am a son of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and a qualifying addict of multiple fellowships, living in the recovery of the miracle of recovery and the recovery of miracles. I see it both ways, and I am here with the intelligent agent, spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation, and my co-host, Nikki M. Nikki, please take a second and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M. And according to my Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, edition number 4, I'm to identify as a member. And I say that because I just had a friend actually message me and she said, Nikki, I'm not going to identify as an alcoholic. And I said, you don't have to. Our book doesn't say that. It actually says that we're intelligent agent spearheads. So I'm just grateful to be in this book. We had a great Noodle meeting this morning where we summoned all spirit creatures living in a spirit world, rather than just people who are members and people working a program. We really wanted the people who've entered the spirit world, because that's what we do here. We go real deep. So I'm pumped up on fire. I tapped power.
Awesome. Let's tap into some power today. So as we get started with our Noodle It Out with Nikki today, I'm going to take a little bit of ownership of a lapse in my stewardship here as the co-host of the Noodle It Out with Nikki podcast. One of the things that we used to often say, and I say from time to time, is, hey, if you have questions out there for us, we'll address them in a recording. And I give out the email address of noodlewithnikki@gmail.com. Nikki has 2 Ks in there. I haven't done that for a while, and I have not checked that inbox for a while. But I went in there and I checked it, and we've got 3 questions. And we're going to address 2 of them in this episode and 1 of them in the next episode. But a reminder to you, if you do have a question, send us an email. We'll address it in a future episode. And I am making the commitment and the changes. I make amends here to check that email box more often. So let's jump into today's question, Nikki. The first one comes from Jeanette from Germany. And Jeanette has this question. Does the Big Book answer the question of whether I am exactly where I'm supposed to be? For example, my location of living, life circumstances, financial, family situation, relationships. And does the Big Book answer the question any clearer than you're exactly where you're supposed to be? Otherwise, it would be different. Nikki, what does the book say?
Wow. Hello, Fräulein in Germany, Vegetz. Everybody in Europe, we love you so much here in North America. That's where we're broadcasting from. And I will also take a real quick living amends, and put into action that maybe I should learn to check the box, because I don't check the email box because I'm like, I don't know passwords. I'm scared. I don't know this Gmail. And I have the same account for 30 years, my real name at Hotmail. So I have to be willing to grow. But back to our Fräulein's question. Here it is. Page 417. This is where I think every newcomer, oldcomer, committed member of a 12-step program not only needs to live, but it really needs to become the promise on page 87. So let me read page 87 real quick. This is the promise. It's the first paragraph, and it's a step 11 promise, and it says, what used to be the hunch or an occasional inspiration, gradually, there's a key word there, Justin, it doesn't happen overnight. The book says many times, this is not an overnight matter. Stay here. We're in the grip of a progressive illness. It says all of these things. The book repeats itself, and it says, gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Okay, so this is a big promise, because why am I taking us here before I read page 417? Because you need this prayer, these facts, and this belief system to become a working part of your mind from day one. Because, Justin, we do not want to wait for the knock on the door from a police officer that something has happened. We don't want the phone call. We don't want to ourselves wake up to a nightmare and going, is this the way it's supposed to be? Okay, so because repeat the question one more time, because I want to really get us in here.
Yeah. Does the big book answer the question of whether I am exactly where I'm supposed to be? Location, life circumstances, financial, family situation, and relationships. And does it answer it any quicker than you're exactly where you're supposed to be? Otherwise, it would be different.
Okay, I love that. And then I heard a key word, because a lot of people, Justin, they may ask, and maybe even you're in your mind, like, how does Nikki come up with that so quickly? And listen, I am not like a scholar. I don't have a PhD from Harvard or some Oxford in UK. I literally have a PhD from the School of Hard Knocks. It's surprising this book has become a working part of my mind. So I heard the word exactly. Page 417 says this: exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. See, everyone look for that word in that paragraph, second paragraph, 417. So let's read it from the top and break it down, because this is the answer to this question. And acceptance. Because is everything supposed to be this way? Yep, Nikki. I'll go deep to the past few years. I will not stop talking about it, because my experience, strength, and hope is really revolved around it lately, Justin. COVID and the pandemic. And I had to be here, Justin, years before it happened. Because think about it, if pandemic happens, I lost my job, I lost every single right. I could not get on a plane to see my daughter in California or to go to the man I love in Luxembourg. 2.5 years I sat. And if I wasn't already living here, with it being, that's why I took us to page 87, with it being a working part of my mind, I wouldn't have survived. It's too late once it's happened for me to start believing this. So it says, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. Now there's a key word, today. See, if I'm drifting out, Justin, you've been with me on this journey for a moment. Remember, I'm supposed to be married according to Nikki M's plans. I'm supposed to have, I don't care about the rings and the diamonds. I've got too many fur coats, okay? I live in Canada. And they get gifted to me, you activists out there. I'm not going out and killing new animals. They're vintage. Long story short, today, everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. See, when I'm disturbed, because the question from our Fräulein, is this how it's supposed to be? Is everything exactly the money, the situation, the world? It says, when I am disturbed because of these things, it's because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact about my life unacceptable. I can't accept that I'm 51 years old and I'm not literally living in Luxembourg right now. Like, I'm 6 years later, Justin. And it's just recently I'm like, God has another plan right now, because hello, everybody, we're it's 2025 and when you're listening to this in 2044, we've just gone into a weird time of the age of Aquarius. So magical things are happening on the planet Earth. Okay, let's just sum it up there. And I love this part where it says, I can't find any peace, serenity, freedom, joy, happiness until I can accept. Let's just put everything. Because, Justin, you see it listed as person, placing, and you've been through some things lately. You're going through, I know, professional changes. I mean, Rico 12 podcast. You started another adventure. You've got all these things going. And it's like, no, but Justin, everything's exactly. I mean, nothing, not even that new gray hair, if you even have any. Your hair looks all blonde from this Zoom meeting, but if you could see mine, even the gray hairs I have, I covered them. Okay.
It's a beautiful thing being fairly blonde, because I just look like I'm going blonder as I'm getting gray.
Does this make sense to you? Pop in here again, because
It does.
this is the only, like, we're answering these questions, and I don't think we need to surf around the book, because read the next sentence. I mean, I'll let you read the nothing, absolutely nothing, but kind of finish this paragraph for me with this answer, because we're right here at the key word you asked. Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm going to read on, and then I'll share a little of general things that I'm experiencing in my own life. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. Nikki, this question is something that I think has been a part. I'm grateful that I've been here for a while, because the last month of my life has been chaotic. It's been chaotic. And as I look back at it and as I'm experiencing it, here's how I'm defining it when I'm talking to people. It's a comedy of chaos. It's funny, it's exciting, it's adventurous, it's crazy, but it isn't killing me. And it's because, although maybe I don't necessarily want, or I didn't expect things to be this way, I am accepting that this is how things are, and saying, God, what in the world are you working here? What are you doing here in this situation where my career situation is absolutely on its head? My faith, my religious stuff has been flipped upside down big time in the last month, in the last couple of weeks. My family life is changing like crazy for the good. God's hand is in all of it. And whether I see it as good right now or not, I see that God's hand is in it. And as I accept that and own that, I'm okay with what today holds. And I'm trying not to future trip, because that can get crazy. Any other feedback or thoughts on that, Nikki?
Okay, you said a lot of things in that. You said, number one, you took me to page 154, the bottom sentence. This is a promise that Justin is talking about. He said his sanity returned, and he thanked God. I mean, that's what you're doing every day, because you've been here for a while. Key word, he has not left. He's stayed in the rooms. So he is very well aware, everybody. Justin knows that everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. That's why we don't leave. Now, Justin also took us to page 132. He said right here, he thinks cheerfulness and laughter make for usefulness. I mean, he's the host of many recovery podcasts. And if all these things come at you, and I know they've come at you over the course of some time here since I've known you, outsiders, our listeners, your beautiful family, Justin, I know you're an active member in your community, would not want what we have. It says outsiders are shocked when they see Justin and Nikki burst into merriment. I'm here laughing. I was going to kill myself because I didn't have a husband, and I'm here laughing, going, I don't even know if I'm going to get married, sir, because I've got so many star seeds to lead to this light right now. And you're like, Nikki, I thought I had this career planned out, this path of life. And you're like, it's just been upheavaled. And I'm so excited, because it says over tragic experiences, even in the past. How about just a few days ago, Jess? I mean, when was it? 2 weeks ago, you told me this big change. And I don't know. There's been so many podcasts that we do, and so many times we meet this table, that it's like the little things eat at our soul, right? So we've been through so many things. It says, why shouldn't Justin and I laugh? See, we've recovered. What have we recovered from? We've recovered from a seemingly fake news, hopeless state of mind and body.
Yeah.
We get a daily reprieve from our disease. You know, if you look on page 417, Justin, across the way on page 416, I love this. I have this. This is probably the only thing I really have highlighted and starred. It says, the third paragraph down says, it helped me a great deal to become convinced that alcoholism, addiction, it's a disease, not a moral issue. Okay? So we've got to stay here, because if we go back to page 417, it says, Fräulein, back to your question. When you stop living in the problem and you start begin living in the answer, which is everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Everything, problems, all things go away, and I'm free to live today in the moment. And then maybe we can end here and with your final thought, Justin, because it says, when I complain about me, this is on page 417. You have to know this whole page to thrive in this thing called Earth School. And this book helps us do it. So when I'm complaining about me, the situation, I'm complaining about God's plans and designs. And I'm saying I know better than God. And page 62 said, we quit playing God. So everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Everything, Justin.
I really appreciate that. And I think that higher power has been preparing me for this for a while, for a long time, probably my whole life, whole existence, whatever that looks like. But just within the last month, in my 10th step practice, as I go through the day, I watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. I've been I felt to add in anytime I say or think the word should. I should be, he should be, the world should be this way, to 10th step it and go, where am I being dishonest here? Where am I being selfish here? Where am I being fearful here with that word should? Because I'm just taking, well, here it is. I'm saying that I know better than God when I dwell on that concept of I should be different. He should be different. The world should be different. I can't, if I dwell there, I'm going to be a mess. And that's been a powerful perception shift for me also. Nikki, do you have any thoughts on should before we close this out?
Absolutely. Words matter. That's what we talked about today on the Noodle meeting. It's like words matter. Now, page 87, see where religious people are right. If you open up, and I know Justin loves this book, and so do I, the big book, the Bible, the basic instructions before leaving Earth, book, it says, in the beginning was the Word. So words matter, everybody. Let's stop. Like the friend who wrote me and says, I'm not going to identify as an alcoholic anymore. You don't need to. You don't need to. You can identify as, I am a child of God. I am a loving spirit creature having a human experience. Like, it's the words matter, everybody. So think about that. We need to be, slow to speak. When it says slow to anger, how about slow to speak? Slow to think those thoughts that aren't real, like I should. I had a sponsor or friends, I can't remember, same thing. They said that they don't use the word should. And it goes back to page 63, a sincere position. So that's really the question. Because if you take a sincere position every day, some of you in early recovery, and I know Justin and I have to do it on certain days, we have to do it maybe every hour on one of those days where we have to stop and go, I'm in a sincere position to quit playing God. So I don't know how anything should be, because I'm just a servant. Like, it's so, Justin, we could go on. Do you understand? Page 114, here it is. And then you'll have to take us out of this podcast, because this will be the run-on sentence, the run-on podcast, the run-on answer for the Fräulein, who probably is English as her second language. And she's like, what are these people saying? Slow down. I need to Google half these words. I don't even know where I was going to go except.
Page 114.
Oh, there it is. Thank you, sir. It's my menopause. So, hey, yeah, everything's exactly the way it should be. Even my menopause with my brain fog. Page 114, the power of God. What does it say? Goes deep, runs deep.
Goes deep.
There we go. Justin, take us out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeanette. Thank you, Nikki, for walking through this with me. Jeanette, thank you for that question. And while the answer to your question is pretty simple, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Otherwise, it would be different. Is the answer to the question? This has been a very enlightening conversation and deep dive through the big book for me. And acceptance is the answer to all of my problems. Anytime the word should comes in, I'm trying to make myself the director of the play, saying I know better than the director with a capital D. And I don't want to make a mess of that play. I've done plenty of that in my life. I've made too many messes of the play of my life. I'm ready to jump on board and be a stagehand. Whatever, I'm ready to be whatever the director points me to be. At least for today, that's what I say. Anyways, everybody, jump in here. Jump on the bandwagon of life as it is, accepting life as it is, and rejoicing, being excited about the adventure, the highs, the lows, the fun of the roller coaster. Put your hands in the air. It's more fun that way. Everybody keep coming back. It works when I work it. Work it. You are worth it.